What is this? The internet sucks. Hey, welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel, and we got to celebrate another win for Trump. Another week where nothing but scams were exposed by Trump. They really worked hard to try to do the Russia scandal so like that he won't get elected. But he did get elected. And now they are exposing all the ways that the government was trying to take down Trump. Because now Trump is the government. Let's take a look at Sunday Morning by Maria Bartiromo, who has no problem putting it out in the news and letting people know what's been happening. Because the fake news media doesn't let you know anything. They keep everything on the wraps for the Democratic Party. But little by little, the Democratic Party is just collapsing, self-collapsing. They don't have a speaker. They don't know what message. And they're always on the 20% of all 80-20 issues. If you know, you know. All right, let's take a look at Sunday Morning with Maria Bartiromo. See what she got to say. Because a lot's been happening when it comes to Trump and the presidency.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Today, the biggest political scandals ever seen, and all in the last 10 years, as Democrats get deranged over Donald Trump replacing them and loosening their grip on power. No lie was too big, no casualty too severe, as scandal after scandal tries to take down the Democrats' political enemy, Donald Trump. From Russia collusion to the Biden dementia cover-up and the auto pen, Democrats take it on and finally face the consequences. Coming up, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
And by the way, we want to see some names get arrested. Some people got to be held accountable for this. There are human beings in the Democratic Party who did this. We got to see people be taken down because of it. Let's be honest.
Is here now calling for prosecutions for what she calls treasonous conspiracies against President Trump. This week, exposing documents that reveal Barack Obama and the highest levels of government efforts to stop a brash businessman outsider from upending their power. Then, will we ever finally see accountability? Oversight Committee members and Florida lawmakers Byron Donalds and Anna Paulina Luna on the repercussions for potential treason. Plus, no wonder they wanted him stopped. President Trump's agenda successfully shows up his predecessors and critics with an economic boom underway. Senate Majority Leader John Thune on 6 months of victories and the coming 6 months.
Yeah, the Trump golden age is coming through, and everybody's just shocked how much government can get done quickly. The man is working at lightning speed, and it looks very fast because nobody else has done it like he has. The man knows how to negotiate and is now putting America first.
Months of battle. Plus, the race that everybody's talking about. New York mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa on breaking through, while Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo fight it out for the mayor of New York contest. It's all right here, right now on Sunday Morning Futures. And we begin this Sunday morning with the biggest political scandal of all, collusion and conspiracy at the highest levels against President Trump. Now, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard revealing what this audience has known all along. A cabal of high-ranking officials led by then-President Barack Obama, CIA Director John Brennan, and Hillary Clinton, among others, took the world on a wild goose chase to try and take down their political enemy, Donald Trump, no matter the casualties along the way. DNA Tulsi Gabbard is now calling for prosecutions, revealing declassified documents from the Russia collusion made-up investigation, which she says detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest level of the Obama White House to stop incoming President Donald Trump. The cabal included Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Jim Comey, and Susan Rice, who pushed.
Now she said a bunch of names. Those people, they got to get arrested or sanctioned or something. So we know that we have a working system that's fair and that is prosecuting people accordingly. If they break the law, nobody's above the law. How about that? let's see something besides just name calling.
A made-up story that President Trump colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election so the cabal would not lose their grip on power. All of this exactly as then Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, Judiciary Committee member John Ratcliffe, and President Trump himself told us so many times from day one.
What that is it's the original intelligence, the original reasons that the counterintelligence investigation was started. Now, this is really important to us because a counterintelligence investigation uses the tools of our intelligence services that are not supposed to be used on American citizens. So we've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation? So what we found now, after the investigators have reviewed it, is that, in fact, there was no intelligence.
As a former federal prosecutor, my opinion is that declassifying them would not expose any national security information, would not expose any sources and methods. It would expose certain folks at the Obama Justice Department and FBI and their actions taken to conceal material facts from the foreign intelligence surveillance.
So those people that get exposed, again, we want to see people just lose their jobs at least, get written up or something happening to them for breaking the law. Some actions, reaction. They break the law, something happens.
How involved was John Brennan?
Totally involved. He was totally involved. John Brennan was one of the architects, in my opinion. You look at Brennan, you look at Clapper, you look at them all. But ultimately, the president knew everything. The president knew everything. President Obama and Vice President Biden, they knew everything.
And Comey and Brennan and Clapper, they all were terrible, and they lied to Congress. They spied on my campaign.
The only president that's going to call out names, because we know politicians take care of each other. They block names, and they don't do this. They don't get on TV and expose other politicians or other agencies that are maybe trying to take them down. Man, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing happening right now.
Which is treason. They spied both before and after I won.
Joining me now is the woman herself, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Director, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria. Thank you.
What was the most damning thing that you learned after looking through all of these details?
Maria, the implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president, commander-in-chief of the United States. And so they decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President Trump to do. So creating this piece of manufactured intelligence that claims that Russia had helped Donald Trump get elected contradicted every other assessment that had been made previously in the months leading up to the election that said exactly the opposite, that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to try to, quote unquote, hack the United States election for the presidency of the United States. So the effect of what President Obama and his senior national security team did was subvert the will of the American people, undermining our democratic republic and enacting what would be essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, who was duly elected by the American people.
Yeah. I want to go back to something Devin Nunes said, which is exactly what you're saying right now. And he said, after all of our investigation, we found that there was no intelligence. There was no intelligence actually indicating that Trump colluded with Russia. And what happened? because there was a presidential daily briefing that was presented to President Obama every day. And every day it said the same thing. We have no evidence of collusion. We have no evidence that Russia did this with Donald Trump. So what happened? How did they actually get the public to believe, and half the public believed, that actually Trump did collude?
You know, this is also great PR, because right now Donald Trump is getting over that Epstein client list debacle where he didn't release the list after saying that he was going to do it. So now moving on to the next thing, because in politics, it's always one news cycle after another. So here we are taking down all the agencies or people that did the Russian hoax. So this is a genius move. Forget about that client, the Epstein client list, and let's talk about all these people that got to get arrested. Excellent PR.
Well, this is the thing, Maria, when you look at the assessments that were made, not just by one element of the intelligence community, but in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, I oversee 18 different intelligence community elements. And in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed.
And also, if another country is trying to interfere in an election, isn't that something for the people at the higher ups to figure out and stop? They need to be talking about it, not the general public. Like, they know that the people watching are scared of Russia. Like, Russia's the boogeyman for them. So they release the information to the public unnecessarily. Because at the end of the day, let the people at the CIA, the FBI, figure that problem out, solve it, and then come report to the people what they solved. Instead of just hyping it up and scaring people into not voting for Trump, trying to say that the Russians are the ones doing all of it, when in fact it was them. Crazy.
The intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election. So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December. Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election. Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance. The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bring together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
Now, I know that Devin Nunes came out with the Nunes report and a lot of other reports after that to indicate everything that you're saying. And I guess the worst of the reports, the real evidence, is the reports of most recent, right? The last reports are the worst reports that we're going to see. And I understand that there is more, perhaps, that you are going to come out with next week. And I was told that that's why they raided Mar-a-Lago, that they wanted to find the Trump-Russia documents that indicated there was absolutely no collusion and that there was no evidence to even start such an investigation. But Trump didn't have it there in Mar-a-Lago, but that's why they raided his house in 2022. Is that correct?
I don't have the details on the specifics of the Mar-a-Lago raid itself. Those are within the possession of the FBI. But there's no question that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. And that's really the point here that I think is most important, Maria, and you said it in your opening. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the
people got to be held accountable, right? This week, they just released a bunch of names or who were involved. Well, by next week, I want to see some names being brought up to the Department of Justice, right? Being held accountable. Because how can they cheat and be okay with that?
integrity of our democratic republic, accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again.
Yeah. And I want to get to that right now because I've heard talk of a criminal referral. Are you referring this in a criminal matter?
Yes.
We are referring all of the documents that we have uncovered to the Department of.
Because then this is saying that the Democrats politicians are above the law. They can even do crazy things like trying to set up President Trump. And if they don't do anything, that's like, it's okay that they did that. All to save democracy, right? Right. I don't think so. Names got to go up and people got to be taken down.
Of Justice and the FBI for a criminal referral.
Yeah. And do you believe that we will see prosecutions? I mean, our audience wants to know where this story goes from here.
Yeah.
Will we ever see anyone held accountable for this incredible lie on the American people?
Yeah.
I will do all that I can. And we have whistleblowers, actually, Maria, coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here because they too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered. So we're going to provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments, those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable.
Nobody is above the law. That's the number one thing they could do. Show us regular people who got to walk on eggshells and be sure not to get arrested, following the law. Well, then we need to see them being forced to follow the law also. Come on now.
So do you expect, just to be clear, do you expect indictments and prosecutions?
I'm not a lawyer. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice, yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
And I want to really put a spotlight on who's responsible, because we've talked about the highest levels, Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, but we also have to look at things like, you just found all of this. Why didn't Durham find it? Why didn't Mueller find it? Okay, what about the FISA judges? Because when you look at this seditious conspiracy aimed at overthrowing the U.S.
Good question. That's why Trump likes talking with Maria. She is honest with good, hard-hitting questions. What's up with all these people withholding all these documents? Why didn't they do something? That's another one. Oh man, part two.
Government and an elected president. You have to consider also the black robes. You've got to look at the FISA judges. And how about the fact that the judge who gave a slap on the wrist to Kevin Kleinsmith, who was the FBI agent who lied on an official document about Carter Page, who was spied on for a year. That judge is Judge James Boasberg. He's still at his desk, and he's still trying to stop Donald Trump's agenda. So what about the broader group of people that are also involved?
Good question.
Is of such historic consequence that it cannot be limited to one or two or three different people. You just outlined the implications and the effects of what actually occurred, and I think you're really putting into a clear picture what we are referring to when we refer to the deep state. It is very far-reaching. These are people who are intent on undermining the will of the American people and trying to ultimately put themselves above our democracy. And this is why it's so important that we continue down this path. We continue to stay very focused. I question the same things that you're asking here. I don't know how it is. Yes, I put my team on this. We've been working on this over the last few months. I've been in this role as Director of National Intelligence for just about 6 months. I don't know what excuse there is for those who supposedly investigated this previously, whether it was Durham or others, that they were not able to put together the dots and ultimately show the truth to the American people. President Trump has delivered a maximum transparency mandate, and this is exactly what we're doing. The American people need to see the truth, and we're going to continue to do that every.
And let's move past the Epstein client list. You know what? Forget that. Let's talk about everything else. I think that's what Trump wants to see.
Single day that I'm here.
Equally outrageous was the fact that we had the handwritten notes of John Brennan. I reported on it at the time. The CIA reported to President Obama that the Russians were aware that Hillary Clinton had come up with this idea to blame the Russians and working with Trump to win the election. And we actually saw his handwritten notes. So there's that evidence that, again, all of those people who were supposedly special counsels, independent counsels, blew off, right? Robert Mueller, John Durham.
That's right. I really cannot fathom. There is no rational or logical explanation for why they failed. The only logical conclusion that I can draw in this, Maria, is what you're implying here directly, is that there was
politics as usual. That's what it is.
Direct intent to cover up the truth about what occurred and who was responsible, and the broad network of how this seditious conspiracy was concocted and who exactly was responsible for carrying it out.
So at the end of the day, we need to look at Pam Bondi. Is that the person who at the end of the day is going to bring us accountability? Pam Bondi?
Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, it is their responsibility to gather all of the evidence, both that we have released, the facts that have already been known previously, the information that will continue to come out, and move forward with this prosecution. And
they better do something, because Pam Bondi is about to get fired. So she better prosecute. Pam Bondi, she did horrible with the Epstein files, promising the list, and then at the end saying there is no list. You know, and the FBI looks back because they also said there is no list. So they better do something, or people want to ask for Trump to fire her. It's insane, but I think it's clear that this shows capitalists, people in business, are all in for money, money, money. And politicians, it's all about power, power, and more power. They could care less about anything else. And using their power, they're making a whole lot of money. So it's insane. But Trump always bringing in the news, bringing in new information. And now we got this report. Another one that Maria Bartiromo brought in was Thune. Let's take a look at Thune speaking with Maria Bartiromo, talking about the greatness and everything that he's getting done at light speed with Donald Trump. Let's take a look. I think things just keep getting better and better for Trump. It's insane. All right, let's take a look.
And joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is Senate Majority Leader John Thune. Senator, it's great to have you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Maria. Good morning.
Well, congratulations to you on this incredible 6 months, getting the big, beautiful bill across the finish line, now into law, as well as this week with the digital assets and the rescission packages. Talk to us about your priorities right now, and when will the American people feel the impact of all of this?
Soon.
Hopefully soon. I think the American people will. And the nice thing about getting all this done before, particularly the one big beautiful bill before the 4th of July recess, Maria, is that it has a lot of time to get into effect and to impact people's lives. And of course, the goal behind all this was to make the lives of working Americans, middle income Americans, better, to strengthen their families, allow them to keep more of what they earn. And this part of the president's agenda, and it's a big part of the president's agenda, was designed to impact those very Americans. And so we're grateful we got it passed, and I think you'll start to see the effects of that soon. But, there's always more to do, for sure. But we've had an incredibly successful and productive 6 months. The president's agenda is being accomplished piece by piece in a way that I think is going to benefit the American people by making our country safer and stronger and more prosperous.
Well, you had to walk a real balance, trying to placate some of your members who were pushing back on the bill, while also ensuring you had the necessary votes. And you did that. Probably one of the most important pieces here is that you made the tax cuts permanent.
It is, and I think one of the things that we really fought for in that, Maria, was to make those tax cuts permanent. And I think if you're looking, a lot of the folks that you talk to out there, the one thing they want is economic certainty and ensuring that people can make decisions now based on tax policy that's going to be in effect, making the bonus depreciation, deduction of interest, also R&D expensing, those types of things permanent, I think will increase incentives for capital investment in this country, which creates better paying jobs, raises the standard of living for everyone, and in the long run generates more government revenue. I mean,
who knew that a capitalist, Donald Trump, was going to be so helpful to the working class Americans, to the regular people, and he's giving back for those who voted for him? It's unbelievable that somebody who's so supposedly self-centered, all about his pocket and his money, it actually doing so much to help the people. Instead of the politicians being the one to help the people, it's actually Trump walking in and doing all the hard work. Crazy.
If you want to get the budget balance in this country, we've got to restrain spending, which we are also working on, but you need pro-growth policies and taxes and regulations and energy that generate more economic growth, because growth also leads to more government revenue. And so it's one way of the many ways that we need to look at to try and get our fiscal situation back into balance and to return some fiscal sanity to our country.
And of course, with all of your success, no doubt, many are now saying, what's next? And they're looking ahead. I know you've got 12 appropriations bills to take care of. And unfortunately, you didn't have any help from the Democrats in the last couple of months, but you will need help from the Democrats come September. So are you expecting to do a continuing resolution? What does the future look like in terms of those appropriations bills?
You are correct. We are going to need to get appropriations done. That will require some cooperation from the Democrats, and hopefully they will be willing to make sure that the government is funded. We got to do the defense authorization bill. That's an annual thing that we have to do around here. Russia sanctions is something that is on our agenda, and we're kind of working with the White House and coordinating schedules to make sure that we do that at the right time in terms of their negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. And so there's a whole series of things, including the appropriation bills, that we want to get done. But funding the government has to be done before the end of the fiscal year, which is October the 1st. And so we've got to figure out a way to start trying to move appropriation bills. We've got 3 or 4 of them now reported out of the Appropriations Committee. We're going to try and get one up on the floor next week. And I hope we will find that the Democrats want to work with us. They haven't demonstrated much of a willingness on anything so far. I mean, they are making it extremely difficult to get any of the president's nominees through the process here. It's obstruct, it's delay, it's block. That's been the pattern, and it's Trump derangement syndrome on full display here in the United States Senate. But in spite of that, we've gotten a lot done, and we're going to get more done. But I hope at some point, particularly when it comes to funding the government, we can get some.
It's all about delays. They think they're slick, using judges to just go up against any order that Trump puts in. So then like that, Trump fights it and delays. By the time he's done fighting, he'll be done with his presidency. But thank goodness the Supreme Court is working with Trump. So none of that is working. Trump came into this presidency ready for war. So none of it's going to stop him.
Cooperation from Democrats.
I mean, do you think Chuck Schumer would like to see a government shutdown come September?
I think he probably thinks that it's beneficial to their political base, the far left of the Democrat Party, and you can kind of see what's happening up there in New York politics. This is a party struggling for an identity. This is a party that's completely out of step with the mainstream of this country. And I think, frankly, although it's not going to be in their interest in the long term to do it, we're going to be waiting to see anxiously what Chuck Schumer and other leaders on the Democrat side decide to do, because ultimately, keeping the government funded is good for the country, and hopefully we'll have bipartisan cooperation to do that.
I love the fact that their action shows that they're not for the people. They are for their party and to keep power within their party. That's it. They don't want nobody else rising up to take over the presidency or to take over the country. They want to maintain that power, and that's it. That's all they care about. And more people got to wake up and just know less government is better. Get them off the stage, get them out of here.
But if their recent track record is any indication, they're under a tremendous amount of pressure from that far left wing of the Democrat Party to shut the government down. But I hope they think better of it.
Well, it's incredible what we're seeing in New York. I mean, do you see a tone and a pivot towards socialism within your colleagues on the left?
It's crazy that New York is getting a Democratic socialist. The man says it out there, defund the police, help people, freeze rent, and just a bunch of free stuff from the government. And that doesn't work. And some people are buying it. That's how it is.
It's pretty remarkable, really, Maria, that in our country, there was not that long ago when you had so-called, blue dog Democrats, and President Clinton now would look like he looked like a far right winger. And because they have moved so far to the left and they're getting pulled further and further in that direction. And that mayoral election in New York is probably the best and most recent indication of this sort of shift toward socialism, communism, whatever you want to call it. I mean, these people are moving far left. And they believe in more government control and more power in Washington, D.C. As you know, we've always believed in distributing power, getting it out of Washington, back in the hands of the American people, where they can do the things and make the differences in their family.
The politicians should be working for us. I don't know how many times people got to say it. We're not here to work for them. They're here to work for us, ensuring our money, ensuring our jobs, ensuring our economy. Come on now.
In their community. So it's a clear difference in philosophy when it comes to how to run this country. And the Democrats clearly are being pulled now further and further to the left. And I think that makes it harder and harder for them to win elections in this country.
Well, I've got to tell you, every time I speak with business managers and CEOs, they tell me that America is back. Things are booming. So your work is being felt wide and deep. But I did speak with the CEO and chairman of Chevron this weekend, and he is still worried about certain permitting rules. And I want to get your take on what he had to say. Here's what he said.
The broader issue is for permitting that involves multiple agencies that may cut across state lines or involve more complex issues. We still need a better process from a federal standpoint. We need lead agencies. We need timelines. We need limits on subsequent litigation that can be used to drag projects out for years and years and years. And so there's some things that I think legislatively can help what we're seeing now, which are great first steps, but can be more structural and enduring over time that enable this permit reform to last and to help us build things in this country.
Of course, their investing is very much long-term, Senator.
It is, and I totally appreciate where he's coming from, Maria. I think that is a desperately needed reform. It's something that will require, again, some Democrats. It takes 60 to do that in the Senate. But I will tell you, I am hearing, believe it or not, some interest among Democrats in doing something on permitting reform, because not only is it slowing down and grinding to a halt a lot of conventional energy projects, but they're also renewable projects, things that Democrats support that we need to get cited, to get permitted, to deal with litigation reform that comes in the wake of all this. There are a series of things that have to be done if we're going to keep our country competitive and make sure that it doesn't take 20 years to get a project ultimately up and going. So I'm
They got to get rid of the red tapes. And that's it. They make it extremely difficult for Americans to do anything. The law becomes like the number one thing stopping business from growing. That's a lot of red tape and things that business got to do just to get work started. Fees they got to pay and all the other things that just slows things down to a halt. People rather go to another country to work for free.
I'm a big fan of permitting reform. If we can find some Democrats to work with us, I think that could be something that could be a real bipartisan win for the country, because it'll keep our country competitive and stronger.
You know, it's nice to hear that we got to make our country the best, do more things for the country, everything for the country. And Trump was right when he said, make America great again. And it's actually being seen that we do the best. We are the best. In California, I just saw the news this morning. Traffic now is back to regular. No more like traffic that's at a halt, like a bunch of cars. Why? He deported a bunch of illegal immigrants, over 1 million, and it shows that life now is easier. Life is better now in America. My co-host is over there. My name is Noel. Ven aquí, siente aquí. I'm trying to get to sit here to do this show with me. With all the great news about America, and we are living in America. And finally, we got a president that not only puts America first, but the people, regular working people first. We got to do great in order for the country to be great. That only makes sense. Can't believe we went so many years with all these politicians talking about things that are so difficult, and that's how we got to be, that they just sent all the jobs and all the factories overseas to help the rest of the world. Right. Let me try playing this video. Let me see something.
Verbal or life.
I think that's a cool video to end this show with. So I'm going to try to do that. My name is Noel here in Pennsylvania, waiting for the new tech jobs that are coming through. AI. I just saw a news report saying that AI is headed over here to Harrytown, I think is what it's called. So that means more job for people, so we could program and use AI to do great things. Amazing. But that's my thoughts. Comment down below. Hopefully you enjoy this video. Maria Bartiromo, Sunday morning futures. Here at Verbal on Live, give this video a thumbs up so like that we can continue to record and post these videos out there, because we got to give a shout out. Trump is doing a great job. The man, after dodging those bullets in Butler, PA, and getting elected, he's doing an amazing job. Watch. I don't know why, but somehow before he finishes presidency, I can see Elon Musk going back to the White House and giving him a hug and a big thank you. Like going back to being great friends. Man, that would be amazing. Because at the end of the day, I see Elon Musk as a businessman doing what he got to do just to get his Tesla stock back up, to get people to stop hating on him. Because remember, when he was with Doge, people were hating on his company, on Tesla, on anything that had to do with Elon Musk. So he's doing the right thing by going up against Trump. So I'm pretty sure Trump knows it. Trump is a businessman. He's going to finish off his presidency with a big hug to the tech giant Elon Musk. And also by then, he should have people in Mars. Or at least he should have a ship. By 2026, he said he's going to send a ship so that by 2028, we'll see one person going to Mars. I mean, talk about life goals. What kind of goal is it to send people to Mars? That man is on another level. And can he do it? I hope he can. So that in my lifetime, I see people walking on Mars. We've seen a lot in our lifetime, such as the Democrats being exposed, but just running, but having people as slaves and just getting people to vote for them, but not to do anything for the people. If anything, you vote for them and you vote for a slave master. They want to continue to keep people as slave masters. My dogs. I got 2 puppies. They love to bark every time I talk. I don't know why they do that, but my puppies, they like to bark. All this into the key ring. Siéntate aquí ya. I'm telling her to just sit here. All she got to do is sit here, agree with everything that I got to say, just nod your head, and it's going to be a great show. I mean, that's an easy job. It doesn't get any easier than that. Also, I got to call my son. I got to give him some driving lessons because it's Sunday and traffic is light. So, dogs don't stop barking. We're going to go to the park and give him some driving lessons in the huge park that we got here in the backyard. So, if you can learn how to drive, that'll be, actually, I want him to drive. I don't want to drive anymore. I am tired of driving. I'm 45 years old. I got a Tesla Model Y, which I am done driving, and I'm ready to move on in life. And just let the car drive me around. I don't have to drive anymore. Isn't that great? Let me see how far we get. Ven acá, Ode. She's not listening to me. If I could get a host on this show, it'd be way better. We know women are beautiful. It should be great to sit here. That's it. Great eye candy. And then I just got to give out the information. I'll open up a second YouTube channel called Noella Nodechi Unfiltered. Well, I'm trying to get her to sit there and talk. So far, we got 3 subscribers on that channel. Nobody's on there, which I think is great. We could talk about anything we want. Ain't nobody listening. So if I could get her to come in here and sit, maybe we'll get a bigger audience and more eyes to watch and pay attention to what's going on in life. But if your thing is politics, hopefully you enjoy this video clip. At this point, all I really want, I would love for you to do is give this video a thumbs up. And let's get more viewers to take a look and watch. With that said, oh look, Face the Nation, Howard Lutnick says next 2 weeks will be for the, wait, let me see this video. Howard Lutnick, another happy camper working with Trump, doing amazing things. Oh, next week will be for the record books. The tariffs are working. You know, we went through school thinking that tariffs are going to hurt this country and are just going to be bad for consumers. We're going to have to pay more for items. And then Trump says they're wrong. The elite experts are wrong. I'm going to tariff the hell out of other countries. And we're going to make big dollars with tariffs. Take a look at Howard Lutnick. Talk about it. Check it out. You know, Howard Lutnick is a businessman who knows what he's doing. Big shout out to Howard Lutnick, who is just super happy that he finally are getting things done in government. Government is power. Business is money. Check it out. Next week will be for the record books. Why is it not playing?
For more on the Trump administration's economic policy, we go now to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Welcome back to Face the Nation, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Well, you heard in our polling some of the perceptions of the economy. 61% of Americans believe the administration is putting too much focus on tariffs. 70% say the administration is not doing enough to lower prices, and 60% oppose new tariffs on imported goods.
I don't know.
This is a centerpiece to your policy.
Great, my internet is super slow. But yeah, Trump administration is focusing on the right thing. We got a businessman
plan. How do you reverse public opposition?
See if I can play this correctly.
Administration is not doing enough to lower prices, and 60% oppose new tariffs on imported goods. This is a centerpiece to your policy plan. How do you reverse public opposition?
Check it out.
Oh, they're going to love the deals that President Trump and I are doing. I mean, they're just going to love them. You know, the president figured out the right answer and sent letters to these countries, said this is going to fix the trade deficit. This will go a long way to fixing the trade deficit. And that's gotten these countries to the table. And they're going to open their markets or they're going to pay the tariff. And if they open their markets, the opportunity for Americans to export, to grow their business, farmers, ranchers, fishermen, this is going to be, the next 2 weeks are going to be weeks for the record books. President Trump is going to deliver for the American people.
Next 2 weeks for the record books, because you have that August 1st deadline. But President Trump sent letters to most of the major trading partners announcing higher tariff rates effective August 1st. That could hit countries accounting for 3/4 of U.S. imports. Let's talk about Canada, one of the big ones. Their prime minister said this past week there's not a lot of evidence they can get a trade deal with the U.S. that avoids tariffs. Is your message to Canada, Mr. Secretary, that no matter what they offer at the negotiating table, free trade's gone, there will be a tariff in place?
No, see, that's silly. We have a plan called USMCA, U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Virtually 75% of all goods coming from Mexico and Canada already come in tariff-free. The president said, look, unless you stop this fentanyl and close the border, we're just going to keep tariffs on the other 25%. And that's what he has on. So don't be confused about it. The president understands that we need to open the markets. Canada is not open to us. They need to open their market. Unless they're willing to open their market, they're going to pay a tariff. That's a simple message the president has. It's fair trade. It's reciprocal trade. Why should we have our country be wide open while theirs is closed? This is an 80-year wrong that President Trump is trying to fix. And our businesses are going to really, really enjoy it. I think the president's going to open between $300 and $400 billion of opportunity for Americans. That's 1.5%, up to 1.5% GDP growth, because the president's going to open all these markets up. You saw it with Vietnam. You saw it with Indonesia. You're going to watch all these other countries.
Basic English. The Democratic Party face a nation that like to pretend they don't understand what he's saying. Why don't you emphasize the fact that he's saying that we're going to see growth, that we're going to see profit, that we're going to see all these great things happen to America?
Is decide if they want to do business with America. Let's just open our market up to America. That's opportunity.
Sorry about that. But yeah, face a nation don't want to say it. The man just said 1%, 1.5% growth.
Opportunity that President Trump is bringing.
Well, we saw framework announcements with those countries you just mentioned, but back on what the Canadian Prime Minister, the man you're negotiating with, said, he's assuming there's going to be a tariff here. There's already this baseline 10% tariff that we are seeing from the administration. Is that set in stone, or is it going to go to like 15 or 20%?
Well, I think what you've got is you should assume that the small countries, you know, the Latin American countries, the Caribbean countries, many countries in Africa, they will have a baseline tariff of 10%. And then the bigger economies will either open themselves up or they'll pay a fair tariff to America for not opening themselves up and treating America unfairly. So what the president's view is, and what she's instructed me to do, is say, look, if you're willing to open yourself up and really open your economy to American business, to ranchers, fishermen, farmers, and businesses, then of course we'll make a better deal with you. But if you're going to keep your tariffs and your tariff barriers holding us down.
Fairness, that's it. And reciprocal tariffs, two big words that Trump loves. Let's do reciprocal tariffs. You want to charge us 10%? We're going to charge you 10%. It only makes sense.
Then of course, it seems fair that you should pay a tariff to do business with the greatest customer on earth, the American consumer.
Yeah.
Okay, so just quickly, are you going to renegotiate that free trade deal, the USMCA?
Oh, I think the president is absolutely going to renegotiate USMCA, but that's a year from today.
Exactly.
So today, of course, 75% comes in free, but of course, should you expect us to renegotiate it? It makes perfect sense for the president to renegotiate it. He wants to protect American jobs. He doesn't want cars built in Canada or Mexico when they could be built in Michigan and Ohio. It's just better for American workers. The president's got the American workers back. That's why they elected him. That's why the stock market's at all-time highs. They understand the president actually understands business and is doing it the right way.
Well, okay. Let me ask you about Europe. Boeing airplanes, Kentucky bourbon. These are some of the things that the Europeans are looking to target if we get into a trade war as retaliation by them.
They're not going to do it.
You just met with the European trade negotiator.
He
came out kind of downbeat. You disagree? You think we are going to get a deal with the European Union?
You know, I was on the phone with the European trade negotiators this morning, about a half hour ago. So there's plenty of room. Look, the president and the European Union, these are the two biggest trading partners in the world talking to each other. We'll get a deal done. I am confident we'll get a deal done. Okay. And it will be great for America because the president has the back of America. So I think all these key.
Finally, somebody got America's back. Here we are, dumb, thinking that politicians had our back and they were doing what's great for us, but no, they weren't. They were actually destroying Americans. And it's insane that we got a capitalist, Donald Trump, who actually doing the right thing, covering for America. Crazy.
Countries will figure out it is better to open their markets to the United States of America than to pay a significant tariff. And Donald Trump has made that point clear. No one has protected America the way Donald Trump has protected America. It is so fun to work for him because I have him behind me saying the right things for America, and I get to do those negotiations with all these countries. And you're going to see the best set of trade deals you've ever seen for America and for the American
Finally.
people.
Is that August 1st deadline with the EU a hard deadline? Are you going to get a deal since you were just on the phone?
No, that's a hard deadline. So on August 1st, the new tariff rates will come in. But nothing stops countries from talking to us after August 1st, but they're going to start paying the tariffs on August 1st. Now, remember, the world is paying 10% right now, and China's paying 30%. So that's right now, and that's why we're running at about plus $30 billion a month for the American people.
They got to do a lesson in college or teaching students how to negotiate, because the way Trump is negotiating in public, lesson to be learned. This is how it's done at the major steps of the world. You know, just put on tariff and scare the shit out of them.
Remember, this is going to pay off our deficit. This is going to make America stronger. We are finally protecting America.
Well, you'll have that income if you keep them in place, but if you're negotiating them away, then they won't be there. So that is contradictory to me. But
nothing's getting no.
So you're not
negotiated away. We have a 10% of the world. No, 10% is definitely going to stay. Many countries will pay higher, like Vietnam and Indonesia, right? They're 19 and 20%. Most countries will pay higher. The small countries are likely to be 10%, but the bigger countries are likely to pay higher. That's just the way it's going to be because we can't have these $1 trillion trade deficit. It's just wrong for America, and Donald Trump is going to fix it.
And American corporations are just going to swallow that and not pass that price increase on to consumers? What's your projection?
Yeah.
What's so interesting is that you're worried about the importers. How about the people who build and employ Americans
No, I'm asking about people who go to the store to buy.
People who make cars here, people who manufacture here. They don't pay a tariff. They don't pay a tariff at all. So President Trump says it all the time, build in America, you don't pay a tariff. The idea that these importers are more important than the people who employ Americans, I think it's just a wrong way of thinking about it. Americans deserve to be employed here and have the best jobs in the world, and that's what Donald Trump is trying to deliver.
I was asking you about consumer prices, what people will pay when they go to the store.
They really work hard to try to put fear on the listeners, the viewers, the general public that everything's going to go up in prices. But what about the fact that if everything goes up in prices, people are actually going to buy something else or buy somewhere else or buy Americans, which is probably going to be cheaper. So It's not a worst case scenario.
Since you don't want to
I think
answer.
they'll be low. I think they'll be low, shockingly low.
Okay. The consumer price index
Seriously.
doesn't currently reflect that, though, that the trend is towards higher.
Well, it just went up. What did it go up? 0.1%? Look, the dollar has declined
0.2 on the core.
more than 10%, right? So the dollar declining sort of softens tariffs completely. These are small numbers. You're going to see inflation is not going to change. Remember, inflation is an expectation of rates continuing to grow. Tariffs are just going to reset the price level for imports, for certain imports from certain countries, but everybody who's building in America. And remember, Donald Trump announced over $11 trillion of building in America. All that building in America, the construction jobs here, but then when those products come on the shelves, they come on much cheaper. Energy is cheaper. I think you're going to see inflation stay right where it is. And Jerome Powell, who's held these rates up way too high, you're going to see him cut rates. The Fed's going to cut rates. Mortgages are going to be cheaper. And America's going to be so much better off under Donald Trump.
There are reports that the Treasury Secretary has talked the president out of his threat to fire the Fed chair, since the Fed's already expected on a consensus basis.
I really hope the Fed chair gets fired this week. Word on the street is that by Wednesday, he should be resigning or handing in his resignation letter. So Powell, I think it's time for you to go. I don't know how we got a Democrat in there. The big mistake that Trump did hiring that guy. But he needs to move on so we could see better growth.
To be lowering rates. Are you telling us tonight or today that he's not under threat, that he will keep his job?
No.
The president is an amazingly transparent person. When he thinks something, he says it. So he says, look, this guy's doing the worst job. We have interest rates the same as Gabon. You know, Europe, all of Europe, the 27 countries of Europe are in the 2s and we're in the 4s. That means your mortgage, everybody's watching, their mortgage is 2 points higher than it should be. So the Fed should be cutting rates, and Donald Trump's going to try to figure out how to get there. Whether he decides to let Jerome Powell stay in the job or not, I'll leave that to Donald Trump. I think the guy's doing the worst job. He's costing us, you and me and the American people, more than $500 billion. I think he's costing us $700 billion a year by keeping rates too high. It's just wrong. I don't know why he's torturing America this way. Our rates should be lower.
He doesn't unilaterally set those rates, but we have to leave it there. We are out of time. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us.
The man tries to act like an intellectual, like the rates got to stay up. I can't bring it down. Yeah, no, those tariffs look ugly and the economy looks ugly when everything looks great. But we got Jerome Powell here just holding down the U.S. economy, messing up interest rate. I bought this house in the first Trump presidency at 3.8% interest rate. Now, if I want to refinance, it's at 7%. There's no way I could afford a house at 7% interest rate. But that's just me. By the way, my name is Noel here at Verbal on Life, or Fisticuffs Politics. Remember to hit that thumbs up button before you go anywhere. Well, almost an hour here on the show. I couldn't get my co-host to come and sit with me, but hopefully next show she will be here. You know, got myself a model to come and sit with me during the show. It'll be nice ice candy, but she refuses to come and sit. Oh, there. Ven acá. Dile bye-bye a la televisión. I just called her to come and say bye. She says she's coming. Typically, when she says I'm coming, that means I'm not going. So, with that said, give it a thumbs up. The trick to life is not to give up. Just keep pushing forward. Learned all of that from Trump, who survived an assassination attempt, dodging bullets on broad TV, and still able to scream fight. Insane. But what do I know? Another day, another Sunday. Thank you for joining me. And the dogs are going to start to bark. Why? You hear that? That's crazy. Let me not complain. Don't complain unless you're going to fix what you're complaining about. Whatever problem it is. So, no complaining. Let's just go. The dogs are barking. That's my number one complaint. I swear to God. I should have got 2 pit bulls like I wanted to. But it is what it is. All right. I gotta work on my outro. See you on the next video. Oh, wait. She's coming. Do we not know that? She's not coming. Keep hope alive. With that said, see you in the next video. Peace.